Good night, good night to all alternate viewers. Just let me know if you can hear me well. Am I coming through clearly? Just let me know if you can hear me well. This is Kemar Stuart speaking, and welcome to another episode of Alternate Views. Yet another Thursday. Sound check, mic check. Just let me know if you can hear me clearly. Welcome to this afternoon's program. I am Kemar Stewart, your host, and I just want to know that you guys can hear me loudly so that we can get this show on the road. So let us take some time to allow the viewers to build up. No, we didn't do much marketing this week. However, you should have subscribed to Alternative Views by now that you'll be getting the notification that you know every time we be coming live. We didn't have any show last week, and we had a show the previous week. Last week we had the previous show. We had some serious challenges. As you know, our live stream was hacked and essentially shut down, and we were unable to complete our show on the dystopian realities, which was set to be a very interesting episode that we had. So we're back at it once more. We're going to try it again this week. We're not going to go as hard as we went in previous weeks because we don't want to lose the live stream. We don't want to lose the feed. As you can see, there's a high level of censorship going on at this time. So the views are building nicely. Alternate views, welcome to this evening's show. I am here, Kemar Short. As we started out in the beginning. Big shout outs to Nigel. Nigel is usually on every Thursday as a co-host. However, Nigel is a bit busy professionally tonight, so it's just a large shout out to Nigel as he does his thing. So he'd be happy to give us some feedback next week when he is on. Tonight we'll be having a guest, a resident guest will be coming in. Will be Nicholas Jones, who is known for going on Baobab Corner and speaking to Lady Max over there, 246 Vibes in the UK. So connect to Lady Max as well. So it'd be interesting. To hear from what Nick Jones has to say. I'll also be on Baobab Corner this Friday. So I look forward to you guys tuning in to Baobab Corner to hear what I have to say on a couple of issues. As usual, me and Lady Max would have some good conversation happening over there. So tune in to 246 Belgian Vibes online radio, based in the United Kingdom, but heavily focused on Barbados, with Lady Max. So again, good evening to Lady Max. I want to say good evening to Mr. Angel, who's saying good night, everyone. Please don't forget to subscribe. So good night to her as well. Good night to the early viewers. We are hoping to have a great show tonight without any disturbances. So welcome. So I want to start the show this evening, um, as usual, with a quote from. Like we usually start with the book, the Living Bible, but we don't have the Living Bible. So we're gonna quote or start with "The Journey" by Dr. Dennis Law. "The Journey" by Dr. Dennis Law, and it is not just called the journey. It is called the journey, the path to finding true self-meaning. So a randomly selected page. So for those persons watching who never saw this book before, Dr. Dennis Law, clinical psychologist, right? The journey, the path to finding true self-meaning by Dr. Dennis Law. This is a really good book for any person who's interested. It's a really great book. It will assist you in your walk in life, whatever walk that is you may have. So, random page 373, and it says page 373, which is chapter 13 of this book. It says lessons on loving. And to quote Dr. Dennis Law, it says, "Love can be the most wonderful and enjoying emotional experience, and at the same time can be the most painful and devastating encounter. All of us have experienced various emotions associated with the journey of love, and we know of the highs and lows that come along with loving someone. Love is indeed the fire of the heart that compels us to give ourselves to others. It is a gift the heart of the Most High freely dispenses to all humans. Love is a natural emotion, human emotion, that seeks its way into the life of any unsuspecting individual who would open up to its paralyzing impact. The process of love takes on various formats. These would include love for God, self, parents, family, friends, and spouse, lovers. All forms of loving require respect, commitment, honesty, regard, and, and unselfishness. And these are important elements that will determine the success or failure of any attempt to give love. For the purpose of this discussion, the focus will be on romantic based love. And then, he followed up in a nice poem. And that poem went something like this: If love were a jester at the core of death, and death the king of all, still would I pray. For me, the motley and the football, yeah, though all be vanity, as the preacher said, the mirth of love be mine for one brief breath. Right? So in these words, ring the echo of passion of the soul for a fair grasp of love. And that's the message from Dr. Dennis Shaw speaking about love. So if those words resonate with you, any alternate viewers, please act upon voice words by a great man. Now, to move on to this discussion, I will see Nick in the background, so we're going to get Nick in very soon. Um, yeah, so we're going to get him in very soon. So let us um, touch on a few topics here quickly. I saw today an article come out in the news, which was saying, speaking about the fact that Barbados' economy is set to slow down. That's a very interesting observation. So that's something that we wrote about in Alternate Views, the book. For those persons who bought the book and who could remember what is going on, with following Alternate Views, you will know that we wrote and predicted that Barbados would be in this particular economic slump. And that's what we're going to basically discuss tonight. And we want to gain some perspectives as well from our guest, Nick Jones, on how is the cost of living going in Barbados, general economy, and let us discuss what is essentially growth from, we will say, a very uh, layman perspective, and we're also going to bring some very technical perspectives to it as well, because this is alternate views. So let me get him in here. We see him in the background. Yeah. So good night
Greetings.
to
Good night to everyone, all the viewers. And good
yeah
night to you
yeah
as
good
well,
night.
Kemar.
Yeah, good night, Nick. Thanks for coming on to the program. It'll be just me and you on the stream tonight, as Nigel is out tonight, busy. But nevertheless, shout out to Nigel Franklyn.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. So any of the message, don't know if you were listening earlier, but any of the
Yeah, right.
message fro- from
It cut
Dr.
off.
Dennis Law. Yeah, you hearing me well?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Right. So did you get any of the message by Dr. Dennis Law?
Well, I was listening, and then the internet started to buffer close to the end. But I was getting a message speaking about love.
Yeah. Mhm. This is, yeah. They're speaking about love, and how what it takes, sorry, to love others, and the different types of love, the different relationships you will have, basically. So we have a love for our country. We have a love for Barbados, right? And the goal is to grow up here, to live here, to stay here, to work here, and to pass away here, and then get children, leave children, and allow the children to have a great life. And what would allow that would called the state of the economy. So the World Bank is saying that the Barbados economy is going to slow down in growth, and they're also flagging what we call the debt and how much money is going to pay back the interest that on all the loans that we would have been borrowing over the years. So, from your perspective, um, what does that say to you as a young person growing up in Barbados?
Well, this is the first time growing up in Barbados that I really heard of anything like that. But it seems that the people of Barbados is who, or the generations to come, is who they pay for everything that is going on right now. That's what it seems like to me. But the point is, wait, hold a minute, right? Give me 1 minute.
Right. In the meantime, he does his thing. Um, right. In the meantime, he does his thing. I'll just go on to quote from alternate views and to remind the audience that Barbados in 2018 went to the International Monetary Fund, or we call the IMF, and signed up to the BERT program. And that was intended to restructure the entire Barbados economy as it was deemed at the time to be having serious problems. Now, Barbados had a serious debt problem at the time. Right? I mean, it got more serious over the years, but we did not have the level of debt owed to international financial institutions compared to no, right? So everybody saw the borrowing spree that we went on during COVID, billions of dollars borrowed. Um, what is not being said is the amount of money that we have to pay back in interest that is leaving the shores of this country yearly to pay back the interest on these loans. Right. Yes. As I was saying, the weather is fairly bad out tonight, so I don't know who else on here is having some challenges as well in terms of slow internet. I hope the weather is treating everyone fine. um, as I know, I think tonight there's a flood warning on, flood warning. So just urging everyone to be careful and we try to work as best as the internet would allow, given the weather conditions going on at this time. And as usual, whenever we hit any hot topics, the internet would cut out. Yeah. So I would have argued an alternative view that borrowing from the IMF and the World Bank, etc., that while they were borrowing, they would be forced to do the reverse exercise, which is called cutting, right? Or cutting the expenditure. So as much as government earns, they have to spend, and therefore, if you're borrowing, which is a temporary solution, you're going to have to be making cuts to the size of government because you can't be spending that amount of money that you were spending before. You have to be cutting back expenses. So what that exercise was going on in Barbados, what we lacked, or what there was a general lack of discussion on, was the foreign exchange component of Barbados. And the foreign exchange component of Barbados speaks to what we earn in terms of US dollars compared to what we spend in US dollars. So Barbados imports majority of everything. Yes. Thank you, Square 4. Thank you, Exchange Square 4. Up here, she's speaking about the visibility. So I'm not sure. Let us try to have that remedied. Right. We try to have that remedied. So let me know if that improves it. But thank you for tuning in again, Square 4, on to Alternate Views. But we were speaking about imports, exports, and investment into the country. So I saw an article recently in the newspaper which spoke to Barbados importing over $3 billion in goods, and it gave the specific countries that Barbados importing most of these goods from. But in comparison to the export side, Barbados is hardly exporting enough, to be able to earn foreign exchange for the country to function. So in every big country there is the need to earn foreign exchange, and nobody else don't take local currency per se unless you are the US dollar. So Barbados is not the preferred dollar of the world, right? So we have to earn foreign exchange to survive to buy every single thing. So the 10 different brands of tuna in the supermarket, foreign exchange is needed to buy that, right? The gas that we put in cars, foreign exchange is needed to buy that. The clothes that we wear, the food that we eat, foreign exchange is needed to buy that. Right? So the average Barbadian does not earn foreign exchange. Right? So therefore the government can't tax uh, locals to earn foreign exchange. They have to invite others here who have that foreign exchange to be able to tax them to earn them. So outside of tourism, where tourists will be bringing the US dollar and other dollars to our shores, and probably a little bits of sugar exports and whatever little bits we can export, like rum and molasses and pepper sauce and those type of ornaments. We do not earn significant amounts of foreign exchange to keep Barbados floating. So apart from sugar, which was a big money earner, and international business and tourism, there is no clear vision for what we can do in terms of earning foreign exchange in Barbados. Right? So on alternative fuels, we're dealing with the direct issue, and we're trying to bring to the attention of the people what they need to focus on. So despite all of the talk about performance of the economy, despite all the talk about how well this is doing and how well that is doing, if you don't earn foreign exchange, Nicholas, well, you know, you run the risk of one of your debtors coming and your creditors are coming
taking
and take.
over,
Yeah.
taking over.
So what do you have to say about that?
To be honest, to me, it seems like that's the plan of the higher people in charge because that's the smartest way for somebody to take over your country. So if I could put your country in debt where you know that you can't get it pay off or you can't pay off any time that you said that you will pay off, then you have to give something to me. So then I can ask for your port, I can ask for your airport, I can ask for the garrison, I can ask for anything of importance of your country because you in debt to me. So all of the debt that readers be in and saying that this is to develop the country or whatever is the development of man that man wants. Because the only boy that if you understand what I mean, development of man with all the fancy buildings, all of the things that man wants to build or man wants to develop. And then our children is who gotta come up, not even knowing when a block laid or when whatever was done in that time. Them don't even know what happened, but they're coming up and their generation to generation paying off these debts. But when your country is in debt, right, I think it's a smart way for people to take over your country. That's my that's what I think.
Okay, well, I am quoting from a book here which uses the term underdevelopment, and it says that underdevelopment makes sense only as a means of comparing levels of development. It is very much tied to the fact that human social development has been uneven, or like the way how humans exist and how they grow. It has not been a straight line; it's been up and down, right? And from strictly economic and financial viewpoints, some human groups have advanced much further than some by producing more and becoming more wealthy. Will some groups work for the ones who advance much further, by pursuing contentment and not seeking oh, wealth
Can you read that over?
opportunities?
Read that over for me again.
What is under development, right? It says that obviously under development is not the absence of development because every set of people have developed in one way or the other or to a greater or lesser extent, right? It says that under development makes sense only as a means of comparing different levels of
Mm-hmm.
development,
Development.
right? And it is very much tied to the fact that human beings and human development has been an uneven and not a straight forward process. And if you look at it from an economic perspective in terms of wealth and money and power, etc., certain human groups, certain people, certain races, certain classes have advanced much further by producing more. In a country's case, countries have progressed in the world by producing more as a country and not consuming, i.e., then going on to earning sums of wealth by producing. So when you look at underdevelopment, right, how does a country become underdeveloped? Especially as we live in the Caribbean, so how Caribbean countries have become underdeveloped in the fact that they earn so much resources every year. They have so many resources like, in terms of taxation and tax collection. Caribbean economies earn significant something like billions of dollars, but Caribbean countries continue to be underdeveloped to a greater extent. So, what do you think is the reasons for that underdevelopment?
On the development is because all of our resources is being used by the bigger countries that are developing. But when you use the smaller countries and the resources the smaller countries have, then you will left the smaller countries undeveloped while the bigger countries developing. So it's just like I a bigger monster, so I can swallow you. So when I
Hmm.
swallow you, I can get bigger. But no, there's no more you. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So this is why because it's not that these underdeveloped countries don't have things to develop, is that the bullies, there's who's come and take what we have for them to develop. Because from a little boy, right? Every time I pass in the even the BFA road, you can look on the left or you can look on the right. And they was seeing oil getting pumped for years up to now. And they don't know about Barbados producing oil, but it getting pumped. So it gotta be going somewhere to somebody that's a resource that could bring money. Can't do an
Well,
export anymore.
well, we started to speak about underdevelopment. So when you have to divert the resources of the country to pay debt, you don't necessarily have the resources available to maintain the same sugar industry or to even to
Mm.
maintain and develop a oil industry, right? So we might have the oil, but it's so expensive to get the machines and pay a drilling company and all that to extract the oil. So you can't pursue the vision or you can't pursue the goal, right? So that on the development could come from a couple of things. One, you live in a small country which does not earn the amount of money or have the amount of money available to be able to do that type of progress. or you're experiencing something called systemic corruption, right? And that the system is being corrupted. Or let's look at another perspective, an alternate view. It could also be the perspective of the leadership, and it could and that perspective of the leadership would then also trickle down to the perspective of the society. Right,
Hey, there's a lot of the tail, a lot of the hey.
right. So let us look at another uh quote here from a book. It says the interpretation that underdevelopment is somehow ordained by God is emphasized because of a racist trend in what it called European scholarship, right? So it was the European mentality, right? It was the European mentality saying that because you are in poverty as a country, that that you know how to say everything happens for a reason. Right?
Hmm.
So the perspective is telling countries that somehow your poverty is ordained by God, and it is in line with the racist prejudice to openly say or to imply that their countries are more developed because their people are innately superior, and that the responsibility for the absent or the responsibility for the economic backwardness of Africa lies in the generational backwardness of the race of Black Africans. Okay? And an even bigger problem is that the people of Africa and other parts of the colonized world have gone through a cultural and psychological crisis and have accepted, at least partially, the European version and perspective of things. That means that the African himself has doubts about his capacity to transform and develop his natural environment. With such doubts, he even challenges those of his brothers who say that Africa can and will develop through the efforts of its own people. So let us put that in some Bayesian parlance and Bayesian perspective. Whereas some people will consider Barbados to be underdeveloped in some instances, right?
Yeah,
And because of the past colonial society that we are in, that perspective or that colonial perspective is still very much rife in Barbadian society. So, in utilizing your natural environments, you come up with concepts, ideas, solutions to tackle the everyday challenges that we face in this country as Barbadians and particularly as young people and especially as young men. Right here, right? And because of the cultural and psychological crisis that our people went through during that harsh time of slavery and even post slavery, and even coming up during the independence time, even still working on the plantation and even working for slave wages, you know, still having the massa complex. You still have many of those persons alive today who are still very much in control of societal narrative, right? So when persons like yourself and myself and the other young people have alternate views on how society should function, how Barbados should function, um, that was not a natural occurrence in a European pictured environment, right? Where we should follow the historical narrative, um, go to school, get a job, get married,
work till you
pay
bang.
bills, retire at 70, zip it, don't have no opposition to the, you know, church, mall, the full works. So Dr. Dennis Law taught me a say, and he referred to the concept of thought drivers, people who drive thoughts, right? People who bring structured ideas and to help shape conversations around specific narrative, right? So as being a thought driver, right? Can you give me some concepts and some ideas as to how you see Barbados being underdeveloped because of the mindset and the mentality that may exist within the society?
Well, based on the society, it will be undeveloped by the mindset of people in terms of the masses mindset is capture everything. So when you got the masses in a slavery mindset, you know you will have a slave driven society. But if you could get the coding in the masses brains change, then you could got a better society. Whereas everybody helping each other, relying upon each other, and understand that one is all and all is one, then you will get a better striving society. And when I say a better striving, it don't have to be developing in terms of what you can look around and see going on. Because as the thing that you read earlier when you said that underdevelopment is the countries covered by God, right? You're gonna you say that it covered by God, right? Why is that? Is because when a country underdeveloped, how people will be looking at what you can see by the houses and things. You more grounded. You got more of the universe to play with, other than when you every time you look around you seeing mommy rock, that mommy concrete, that everybody living around that lowering the vibrations that they can't ground in. You know that is what people is called a striving society. But to me, a striving society is the people. So and the thoughts of the people, the coding in the people brains is what is a striving society.
Good night. Good night, Pedro. Good night. Good night.
Greetings,
Uh,
buddy.
yes. All right. So, smart people, people with brain capacity, intelligent people, and educated population, right? Hence the vision of, we would say, our Barrow at the time, to bring free education in schools, right? So, the free education that we have was responsible for what people deem to be the highest literacy rates in the world. Uh, you know, for Barbados to go all over the world and to show, that prowess in terms of education, having some of the highest level jobs, being some of the most successful leaders of companies in the fields and sectors, etc. And our education system was next to none, right? And we we could call it from the beginning. You go to primary school, public primary school, you got public, you got private primary schools in Barbados, you got public secondary schools, and you got wait, public secondary schools, private secondary school, and then you got community college and university work, and the government sponsors, right, and the government sponsors up to university level. So Barbados has, you know, a solid background, a solid foundation when it comes to having an educated population. Right? Now, the skill of critical thinking, right? The skill of critical thinking in some areas or in many areas need to be deployed along with the education that we have, right? So Critical thinking will say to you that if you have something that is working for you, right, that is working well for you, that you should not try to, you know, change it too
Fix it.
much, or not, right, or not to bring it up too much for fear of you distorting it and changing the whole complex or complexities of it. So if you're making changes, the changes should be for the better and to help to improve, right, the result of it. Now, if you look at the statistics, Nick, for the amount of children leaving school, secondary school, one without CXCs or any type of formal education, or two, not furthermore even being able to learn how to read or write. Simple things that you were doing since primary school, right? So how do you fear a society, especially Barbados, in this particular time where everything is going on, right? With all these changes, and you're also seeing changes to the literacy rate in Barbados, where more and more people are leaving school without the ability to do basic math or the ability to do, um, basic English or anything really. How do you see that working out for the country?
Being honest, my honest opinion, right? I don't really look at. I mean, it's important to learn to read and write, but I just look at education in a sense as indoctrination because it don't give you knowledge. Because knowledge is what you need to go through life. So the critical thinking part that you was talking about is what needed in people today. You understand where I'm coming from?
Hmm.
Because the most educated people in this country, being very honest with you, is the most stupid people in this country. In terms of that, everybody does look for education or whatever, but nobody don't look for common sense because it's too common, it's too low. Nobody don't like to be so low, it's too common. You understand? So nobody don't like common sense. But still yet, the people with common sense is so tricking the people that were education. Or the people with education still go to come to the people with common sense when they want to learn things about the real world. Because education was only created so that we can live in the people's society that them create, the world that them create, which in the roads that them build, the buildings that them build, so that we could travel, go to work, go to the gym, go to church. You understand? So it created for work, for them world. But if we was in Palestine right now where bombs was hitting and all of these things now become irrelevant, then people will understand that in the real world, them things don't matter. The same people that the educated people that think as foolish is the same people that then we got to resort to when things get real in the real world. Because and when I say the real world is the world that the father and the mother create, the universe, not the world that man create for a whole society to function in. You got 6 billion people, 6 billion different brains, billion different intuitions, everything, but everybody's still doing the same thing. But that sounds like programming to me. And it got to be uh, everybody that's go school. So it got to start from there, then going into the workplaces. If you are, so that's why when it comes to education, I don't really think that is that important. But I think it's very important in this life for people to learn to read, write, and understand. That's the key. So
Right,
once you have the understanding, that's the key.
right. I take the point where a formal education is not the only route to self-actualization, right? So, Maslow hierarchy of needs, a self-realization, self-actualization, and you move up through the pyramid, etc., etc. Right? So, some of the smartest people in the world that we know don't have formal, right, don't have formal education, and we don't negate that. So, with gifts and talents, uh, generational transfer from parents, these skills that you have, um, or the money making skills are taught to people, right? So to generate money, like me, I have formal education, but I don't necessarily have like you know that many tangible skills, hand-on skills that you could go and use to, you know, earn money every day. I would gotta go and sell, retail some item, or you know,
Hmm.
do
I
some
understand you clear.
something, right? So the skill of being able to generate income again tops formal education. And again, people may say we talk about it all the time, but I got to bring it up. You look at the Indians in Barbados. If you study the cultural behavior of the Indians in Barbados compared to the cultural behavior compared to black Barbadians and even compared to white Barbadians, um, it, different cultures. Like we had different cultures. So when COVID hit Barbados, when you check out the unemployment lines, they're not saying any. It's not a race debate, by the way. This is not a race debate, by the way. So, right, this is not a race debate, but they weren't saying that many white people, and they weren't saying any Indians in the severance unemployment lines, losing the job in the public service. No, like it wasn't anything like that. So, how come, right, different cultures could come in and set up businesses? Certain cultures have a little the practice of being able to generate wealth for the families and all stuff. Mm. They're able to do it, right? They're able to do these things, right? So I don't beat I don't beat the local population here for not doing it. But what I'm saying is could these things have been taught to us as well growing up, right? Could someone have teach us growing up how to be able to survive on your own, to have skills that you could generate and be able to make money for yourself as opposed to having to waiting or somebody to give you a job or waiting for somebody to give you income like while you were in primary school or so or like you know. So what is happening to us, right? That we are more and more dependent on foreign investment coming into the country, that we are more and more dependent on hotels to go up so we can get jobs, that we are more and more dependent on people coming here to set up businesses or be able to employ us. And, we have a lot of the people here in this country with great ideas to run business, to set up business, to structure business, successful businesses. Because again, we are some of the most educated people on the population on the earth. So how come we are not able to do it in a majority factor? But the Indians in the minority could be able to pull it off, and the whites in the minority pulling it off and been pulling it off and still pulling it off. But we can't even seem to get it off the ground.
But them is the minority, but still the majority. We is the majority, but still the minority because we code in the brain. We don't stick together, so we still the minority because we individual. So use the minority because we is only one. We ain't coming together We staying as I here, you there. So I ain't helping you, you ain't helping me. The Indians coming together as one. The whites together as one. The Indians don't tell the children, oh, you gotta go to school to make it. You gotta go to school and learn. Oh, when you get your job, try and keep it here. Your job is your ma, your wife, your woman, your this, your that. This is what the older generation is be telling you. And it's only we black people that be telling one another them things. So the coding in we brains is why we can't get things done. And the other races could get it done. Because there was raised different, program different, and trained different. Because the more you repeat something, the more it become you. So we repeating slavery mentality every day and repeating it to the children. So it become us. But when the Indians or the whites talking to their children, the children will be free. They don't speak slavery mentality. Even if you see, even in terms of driving without license. As a black man, we drive without license now. As a little man, you're driving and you say, yo, boy, if you get catch small thing, boy, police will do this and do that. But a white little boy or Indian will be driving without license and them is studying nothing what the police was. If the police want me, he can't do me nothing. Because I is an Indian and the white people say, oh, my father is this and that body. So you raise with more freedom. So when you raise with more freedom, your critical thinking will be on because you go survive because you're on your own. You know, other than you understand where I'm coming from. So it's just the coding, the different codings in the brain.
Yeah, I totally get you in terms of how um black people in the majority rear children versus how other groups raise children and the mentality. So you had somebody in the chat saying, I think it was Pedro Gemma saying that he said teaching the youth of generational trauma from slavery is hoarded by our people.
Hmm.
No,
Very, very
I
true.
I could agree with this, right? I could agree with this because the way slavery is sold to black people, I think that we need to not forget that, the ancestors had to go through some trauma and stuff and torture. Remember them, honor them, yes. But I don't think that we need to be showing people images of slavery in 2025 and telling them to remember that, right? I don't think we need to be having images of the white man whipping us across the back with the whip. We don't need to be seeing that in this day and age because that's not the type of slavery that we're dealing with. We're dealing with digital slavery in these times,
Hmm.
right?
Mental
So
and digital.
yeah, right. So I heard a song recently by this American rapper called um called that. One minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Wait, yes, my apologies. Right. So this song makes something like people they are out here free, but they're still not free. And he said they are outside physically, they're free physically, but they're still locked up mentally,
Hmm.
right? So if you are still locked up mentally, but you're free physically, you know, you're still really and truly locked up because you're still gonna do things similar to somebody who's locked up because that's your mentality, that's your state of mind, and that's what will follow your actions in the physical world, right? So you still have generations of families living in close knit, squeeze up households. You still have the realities of like 3 and 4 generations living in 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom houses. I mean, these scenarios happen in other cultures as well too, but it's only temporary solution. So if you see 3 or 4 or 5 generations of Indians in the same house, is that they're still doing something else to supplement income wise, or they're working towards some financial goal, you know, that at the end of it, all of them will end up with their own assets through that
Correct.
sacrifice, right? But over on our side of the world, no, that sacrifice now is not met with any real reward or upgrade or upliftment because that key element right there is missing. Right? So the key element that right, your camera is gone,
Yeah, I listen to you.
right? So the key element that is missing is, as was said in the book, you need to produce more to earn wealth, right? So when you bring production, then you could sell excess production to earn wealth. So you're not gonna earn wealth again by working a wage or saving for a wage. You have to produce. So what is Barbados producing, right? That we could earn wealth for the country, right? That we don't have to tax the population to oblivion. That we don't have to be borrowing, 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 borrowing. And what are we producing? What can we produce, right? To be able to earn money for this country. So, any thoughts from you?
That's food for the thoughts.
Hmm.
What can we produce? That's a good question, Kiran. A very, very good question. Right now, what can we produce? I was looking at the same oil and stuff. That's what I went to tell you. But then earlier when we had the conversation, I understood what you was telling me, why we can't produce the oil. Because that's what I was looking at. I was looking at Arcane, but I just hardly see any plantations with cane on it. No, well enough because we cut it down everywhere. So that was a very, very good question. But I know one thing I know about Barbados is that our brains is what is be exported all across the world. But
Right,
that
but
don't bring back income into the country.
then that leads back to the same education system, right? Of the traditional education system. So to have a world class export, you have to go through the structured education system, right? To be recognized as somebody with brain, right?
Yeah.
So
But
to to
to
be
recognize what somebody with brain know, it can take more than the education is like how you educated. I educated, I went foundation, you went St. Michael's, you went college, you understand me, you went university. So, but it got to come with something different outside of the box now, that to say that you got a advanced brain or a brain that could be exported, that is a worldwide brain. It can't just be education, but you have to control the education structure because
right.
you go, yeah, correct.
Right. So for them to recognize, if you don't have a track record, right? If you don't have a track record for any international country to recognize you, the most recognizable thing would be the educational route, or the athletic route, or the musical route,
The musical, yeah,
or the artistic route, right? That's how you become recognized internationally. Right? So when you become recognized internationally, that increases your ability to earn US dollars. or earn other currencies in the world, right? And therefore you become what you call a net producer. Like you know earn for the country, you out earn foreign exchange, you bring foreign exchange into the country, right? So we need to get Bajans on a level mentally of their actions becoming actions of earning foreign exchange, right? So opening up the market, it has to be the digital market, of course, because right now we're here doing a digital transaction. We're using digital technology to communicate. So there is benefits to the digital economy, right? So you have the monetization of different social media platforms. So you could get paid now for streaming on YouTube. You could get paid for streaming on TikTok. You get paid for Instagram views. You could get paid for content, and many young people around the world are earning millions of dollars from streaming, right? So that alone, the fact that if you have goods for sale, right, if you have items for sale, and you can find export markets to sell produce to people anywhere in the world from right here in Barbados, those are the type of activities that we need to start opening up for for people, not just young people, but for people in general to earn more Barbados dollars and US dollars, or just earn US dollars, I have them converted here to be spent locally in the economy because that's the only way we're going to get out of this country. If you open the door for the masses to
Hmm.
become earners of foreign exchange and start allowing just the big businesses or just a
It's
select
true.
few people to earn the foreign
That
exchange when you got all this debt to pay off. So I got to open the door to allow the people to become earners.
and the only way that that can happen is they will go attack the goal, keep up the bars. You understand? They will go attack the goal, keep up the bars. The players on the board gotta get changed. That's all. And then things will come into play.
Right. So what do you mean by that? When you said the goalkeeper got to come on the bars, what do you mean by
Means
that?
that is a lot of people set in place, a lot of gatekeepers, right? A lot of people set in place to hold back the people with light. Only let you through this door if you got darkness because I dark. So if I the gatekeeper, cause only dark people is the gatekeepers. So while I got this door pinned up with these bolts, and you come knocking at this door, and I why is you knocking? I see be a light coming under the door. I knocking under this door and I see be a light all between the creases. Well, you know I can't work that ain't for you because you are not part of me. So when you knocking and I can't see the light, now I know you dark, so I could open that door for you. Or I could open the door for you if you got light. But if you're willing to dim your light to get through this door, so what are you willing to do that you can get through this door? So this is what's going on in this country, and this is why a lot of people can't get where they're supposed to get, or the people that's supposed to get where they're supposed to get getting stopped because these people so ungodly. They try to change all of God plans to put them plans plans in place. So that's what I mean when I say you will go attack the goalkeepers out to the bars. Because it's just a lot of people that just stopping, you from getting where you're supposed to get. Stopping the goals from scoring.
So you're saying that in Barbados, that the gatekeepers in Barbados are the ones who are stopping the transformation and the evolution of the people for going to
Correct.
the next level. That
Correct.
you don't believe there's a shortage of talent, you don't believe there's a shortage of brains, shortage of
It can't
interest.
be a shortage of talent. We have so much talent in this country. Listen is if from singing to athletic to football. whatever you name it, whatever sport, Barbados is bringing out some of the best. So it ain't a shortage, or it's a shortage. The only shortage, right, that they have is the gatekeepers stopping people from coming in, letting in who them want and pushing out who they don't want. But it ain't a shortage of nothing in this country. You think that is a shortage of talent?
Well, of course not. I think that Barbados has all of the necessary talent. I think that we have some good infrastructure that we could start with, but we just need to invest the money that the country makes in the right areas, cut out the corruption, and cut out some of the greed that we have in leadership and also in the private sector. Right? I also would like to see that the private sector become a little more proactive in and in terms of not waiting on the government to subsidize everything for them, but go and face the market like anybody else. I also believe that the state has to take a more serious approach to young people. So in places like Canada, uh, young people are given preferential treatment in terms of like gaining a house, the first time home ownership programs, give it incentives to get a wife, to get married, give it incentives to get children, to give it incentives to go further your education, give it incentives to like get small business loan grants and etc. etc. And that gives you serious encouragement and a serious boost. But here in Barbados, there's no structured boost for hardly anybody, right? In the country. So with the amount of entrepreneurs that we have in this country, the amount of people that have business ideas, I mean, the market in Barbados is only 300,000 people, 285,000. So that's not an extremely large base, right? So, but again, we need to, you can live a quality life in Barbados. Like you can live a quality life in Barbados if you make X amount of dollars a day, a week, a month. Without overdoing it. So the average person in
So,
Barbados could make $5,000 to $6,000 a month comfortable without it being a challenge to anybody, right? But again, that's not how equal the playing field is. So jobs paying 5 and 6 and 7 and $10,000 are only reserved for friends and family and fornicators and
or
like
who
you know,
who willing to dim the light?
right. Goes back to the same thing you were saying, people who didn't links. So I can firmly agree with you that the potential of this country is being smothered for nefarious reasons, and it's causing the country to start to eat itself out from the inside. Right?
Because that's
So,
what's happening evil to the top. It
right,
have to eat itself from inside.
right. So when you have the rot happening from inside, and then you are now opening the doors of the country to freedom of movement and open migration, then you're completely changing the entire dynamic now of the country to something more, I would say, different. Right? And immigration is not only CARICOM, immigration in Barbados is Ghanaians, Nigerians, and other Africans, South Americans, Colombians, Venezuelans, Trinidadians, St. Lucians, Belizeans, right? Different dynamics, and even the Indian population with different dynamics are starting to migrate into Barbados in a serious way. and are changing the social landscape of this country. Right? So 25 years ago, 20 years ago, the Indians in Barbados were not as wealthy, and were not as plenty, and were not as outstanding as they are today, right? But over time they grew again, not by going to work as a public officer, not by going to work at a job at water authority, or not by going to work at a job at like what they're telling us, like what they encourage us to do. Like,
Hmm.
are telling us that we're not gonna be, we gonna go and do this if we want to be successful. But when you go into the supermarket, when we go work at water authority, and when we go work at the fire service, and when we go work at the airport, we gotta go and take the same money that we just earned, go into the Indian store and pay the Indian's
Hmm.
child who's about 7 or 8 or 9 years old working the cash register. We then got to her and pay that child money for the goods that we know got from the Indian store. The man who didn't even go to university or even bother to get any CXCs.
See, you just see, that's going back to what we were saying in mental programming, right? I mean, like, when you really sit down and study it, and that the people were smart, is that we were so dumb. They're just dumb. We don't the lack of knowledge, right? And here that them was smart, but black people need to change the way that them just look at things, change the way that them just go about things, and we will be better off. Cause going to work, all we just be doing, even when you go to work, you money anybody. You can take off your money from work. You can still pay the same Indians, cause that's most of the Indians now owning the winter houses. So we can turn around and still pay the same Indians the money. We can go in the supermarket, buy from the Indians same way, and it's still going straight back to the bank. So we need to find a way to coexist together and make things happen. Because if I start a van or and I got say I come out, I selling sheets, I selling towels, I selling clothes, whatever. I could got them at $2 cheaper than the Indians, you know. You know that my own nigga want buy from me. They don't support the one another. When the
But
Indians go out business, you think that the Indians is go to other people to buy them things? Then they shop within. They don't shop outside of them. But we just gonna give money to them. But when we do our own business, we own don't support we.
that is the colonial mindset that we read about earlier, right? The colonial mindset, the psychological experiment where people accepted the European version of life, which is to see their own people, like their own black people, as not worthy of having that thing. But when you say A, God say B, right? Now, I want to acknowledge the fact that we don't have economies of scale to work with, right? So whereas an Indian would go to India to buy goods from India to sell into Barbados, in a place for the African person or the African national to go as a mother country to get, you know, a consignment on a bunch of cars or a consignment on a bunch of cloth or a consignment on a bunch of nothing to you to come and sell and however you could pay back. pay back. There's not that put up. There's not that start. So if, for example, you got like the car parts industry, so a car part at like Mark's Auto Spares for $50, the Indians may got it for $20 or $10. That's because he got it from India or he got it from someplace dirt cheap, right? And he able to sell it, but at that meanwhile, in the other business might not have that leverage or might not have that, you know, source where they could get from to offer you that discount. So people shopping with the pockets because the cost of living is definitely way too expensive in these times, and people are not necessarily taking about the race aspect of it as a black, so he's shopping black, or a white, so he's shopping white, or a Jewish, so he's shopping Jewish, or a Chinese, so he's shopping Chinese. Black people in majority shopping with who giving me the best burger or who giving me the best deal, right?
Hmm.
So we also found too is that other groups tend to focus on businesses that are in the necessity, right? The necessity. So majority of the airlines, the products owned by the other races or other groups. Majority of the clothing lines, or at least the top ones, you know how that goes as well. So you would more get people in businesses that are more service oriented, right? That are more service oriented and is a service more targeted at trying to attract rich people that are of the middle class. So if you are a hairdresser, you want to hear for people, and you will like somebody to come to you. Hey, you will let somebody to come to you every week to get here apply at $200 apply every week as a hairdresser. But only is that somebody that got a little money could do that.
That's true.
You know what? Gonna be plotting a hair at $10 and you go apply 10 heads just to get $100.
Hmm.
Nah, you rather
Yeah,
want
that's
wealthy
true.
client.
That's
So
true.
in that they ain't got space for services, but the production and the power of money is in the microeconomics and in the retail, right? Money is in the retail, not even the wholesale. Money is in the retail. So look at the Indians' business model and that they focus mainly on the retail side of things, right? So if they use wholesale, is that they are growing, they are the ones wholesaling. So for example, if they if they are selling lamb, more sure that they own the sheep,
Hmm.
right? They
So
own the
true.
sheep. They're not gonna want to buy sheep to then sell what. That's something more of a black person would do, per se.
That's true. Going back to what you say, we ain't got nobody to go and purchase wholesale from that is a black person, you know? So we still
Right?
got to resort going to somebody else or another race to.
Right. So it's not as easy to achieve, especially in 2025, where people are not so focused on the color of your skin, right? But mainly it's more of the economics of it, as it what is more financially lucrative, was more easier for the pockets for them, and what you're selling. So you might got friends who might be black, but they're not selling what you want.
Hmm.
You right?
That's true.
So yeah. So until we start to invest in each other's necessities, um, you can still be. You might be an entrepreneur, but you become like an entrepreneur working for the same wealthy people again. Right? So investing in the essentials like healthcare, water, sanitation, legal services, housing, um, household items. Right? Look at the things again. Look at the things that the Indian policeman will sell you, or look at what the things the Indians sell, right? Compared to the other groups in Barbados. And then you will get the general idea of what I mean by necessities, and then like material, the more material goods, etc., etc. I look at which groups more do the importing of these things, and who the groups who do most of the consuming or the consumable of these things. So it clearly shows that Barbados is a $1 billion economy. And if you start a business as a minority person in Barbados, you can become a billionaire in a very short space of time based off the structures we have. But if you live here and you grow here and you're working here, the chances of that your business becoming successful and booming is very little compared to a minority person rate. So what do you think could be done if there's anything that could be done to help level the playing field? I have to see the people how we could start leveling the playing field.
Well, they can level the playing field, but you see anything back to what we were saying, supporting each other needs and necessity. We gotta start as black people start looking more, open up their minds and look at what we could produce so that our brothers and sisters could purchase from us. You you gotta look at find it when you look at then when you look at what you could produce, then you can look at the quality that you could produce or the quantity, and we gotta stick together, support each other, share ideas, because ideas is bounce off like wall to wall. So my idea could bounce to you, bounce to me. I could come as strength from your idea, you could come as strength from mine. Quick so the idea come out to be $1 billion idea. So I just think that we need to start seeing what we could produce as black people, or how we could produce it. Because the same way that other races is met or produce cloth, they go pick cotton to produce that cloth, and we who pick the cotton. So why we can't produce the cloth?
Right? But you don't know how. Right?
Because
You
they
don't
never
know how.
that, because that's how the system designed. Not to teach black people how to fish, but give them fish. So when you do that, you become them God. So that's how the people know act as our gods. Because whatever you need, I God give you. So the Father put land here with food, water, sunlight. And people take everything and just sell it. So they teach you how to get light for yourself. They teach you how to source food for yourself. So you always go rely on them, and that's where them is like, and that's how the pyramid scheme does go. So we as the black people at the bottom of the pyramid, just bending over and everybody standing up and we going straighter. So all we as black people gotta do is stand up, instead of slouching for everybody to stand up on we. All we gotta do is stand up and everybody stand up on we. So
Right? Um, he seems to be stuck. Not sure. Oh yeah, Nicholas seems to be stuck, so we just want to give him a time to get his camera back up and functioning. But we're having a great conversation here so far. Just want to shout out a couple of the alternate viewers and to tell them good night. Yes, Sean, cool. We are working on it. You're saying that the image is sticking, so thank you for that. We are on it. So I just wishing a shout out to you and everybody for your alternate views tonight. Shout outs to Lifelong Learning. Shout outs to everybody over at the new National Party, the NNP. Big respects to the NNP and everybody following it, following up.
Yeah,
Which
just
is which is good. So I shout out the entire NNP and the executive, the party. Um, as you know, what you guys may be feeling, my everyday role. Um, yeah. So I want to shout out to lifelong learning as well. I want to shout out everybody in St. John, Parish of St. John. I want to shout out everybody in St. George, in the city, Christchurch, St. Philip, St. Lucie, St. Andrew, St. Peter, everywhere. St. Thomas, everywhere, every single parish. Over in Barbados. Alternate views. Um, welcome to yet another Thursday. We're up at 9:02 p.m. and we are here with our guest Nicholas Jones. Um, as was announced earlier, Nigel had some other commitments. We couldn't be here tonight, but shout outs to Nigel. So we have Nicholas back here again after his brief technical glitch. So we were saying before,
I was saying that we are at the bottom of the pyramid, just slouching, and everybody else standing up, going up. So all we have to do as black people is stand up. Everybody else from there get drop. The have to cause the foundation, So if the foundation become weak, the house ain't falling.
wait,
So
you said, but you said black people, right? But I guess you're saying black people as live in a black country, mainly black people, but you have white people who go to work in the system every day and have to be economic, tax paying slaves just like anybody else. You have Indian countries in the world who have to go through the same thing. So
so
you
it's
have
poor people then.
yes, poor people because you got as you see you got poor whites, poor Indians, you got poor people all over the world. Right? So what do you say to the other people who are not black people who want to feel this liberated message? Who want to feel it, you know?
Just stand up, cause it's all the way that to the bottom. So if all the way to the bottom, we go hold each other hand and stand up. Instead of doing school when you're around with roses and you hold on tight on one other hand and that's wrong. But that's what we gotta do. Hold one other tight. Chain as strong as the weakest link. So hold one other tight. I don't let go. I just stand up. And everybody to the top got to fall. Because the world needs equality. It should never be no poor, middle class, and high class and this high class. God the Father put all of us on this earth and put all of us with everything that we need. So why one man or why a particular group go control all of these things and they create classes to keep control of it?
Well, as we could see, there are some people in the world who consider themselves to be wealthy, and as you could see, the wealthier you are, the more you tend to be away from God, and less and more in tune with other other systems out there, you know,
Hmm.
other entities out there where you will get your motivation from. So when you have these councils ushering in um, these slave-like economic conditions on the people in the world who are just after money to be able to pay bills, right? To be able to pay bills and to be able to survive, right? People would do almost anything just for the will to survive, right?
So,
So
and
the
that's it. Right, I was saying, and that's the thing. If people would do anything, that people would do anything, people would do anything for money. Because, don't let me see it out there, because that's a dry statement. But if everybody don't pay bills, who they get locked up? Huh? The father put me here to live free. So if everybody, you can't do it alone. So if everybody eliminate the fear and don't pay bills or don't pay the mortgage, who then get put on the streets? Who then get locked up? Called unity, strength. But it's just that people ain't seeing it that way because everybody got fear. But I shouldn't go be paying the bills. I go because this is the only thing that people working for to pay bills and feed the children. But the father put everything here for me to feed my children. Put everything here for me to survive. I should go be paying for it, but I go pay because the masses is paid. But if the masses don't pay, the boy ain't go pay bills. The masses is everything. And people they want unite. So it can't so the masses will always be divided.
but if you say to the masses that they will stop paying bills, people will know like, huh?
If I'm mad. Yeah, like I'm mad. But them is
Stop
so
paying
mad.
bills.
You know what I mean? But them is so mad cause you going work and paying the same people that got you working bills every month to keep you coming back to work. So who mad? Me or them? But I got joining the Madman app because of the masses. Because the one man in the island, so no man can stand alone. So that's why the masses got to wake up to the illusion that the end. Because even the ones right now that wake up still got join into them madness because you know it's the masses that in the madness. So we got join into the madness. We might not join fully in because we are aware of the madness, but you still gotta use some of the madness to survive.
Right. But in previous times when there were items where the governments put excessive tax or excessive price increases on items that the entire population would decide not to buy that particular item, and then the government would be forced to have to send back down the price to what it was before because
Correct.
people weren't buying. But I'm more sure if you had to do something like that, and I saw many times people try to do things like that in Barbados, and Beatrice was saying, "Man, I ain't got things to do. Man, I ain't gonna take the base. Man, I got family
It's
to
true.
feed. And you can wait here, he myself, he ain't got nothing to loss, and you can hear everything um
It's true.
to dissuade you from standing up to be the champion for the people. People in fact would even tell you, "Well, you don't shut up and go home, wasting your time." When you try to bring them the message of liberation from oppressive taxation, not just taxation, but liberation from excessive laws and very poor judgment. Uh,
And the thing is, the rich don't ever pay bills. Then that's saying that I sure about. Then I won't even say how I sure, but there's a lot of the rich that do not pay the bills and could pay and don't pay, but the poor got to pay or the cut off, or they the cut off from wherever resources using. But the people that can afford to pay is I mean purposely don't pay. And these same businesses just can't tell them nothing. So in this world it's showing me you got money to got power. But what you got to do for this money to get power? So all the people that got power already dim the light. Because that's what you got to do in this world to get power. Poor people is always got to suffer in this world. And that I think that that's the whole aim. Because if I don't put a drowning man will catch at a straw. So if I don't put poor people to suffer, how can I get them to dim the light? Because this is a war for souls. Because your soul is light. The Father create light. The Father create life, which is light. You understand? And them trying to dim it. So if I don't put you to suffer, how can I get you to a point, a breaking point, to make you do evil things or a lot ungodly things to get this money? That's the only way that I could do it. I got
but
to make you suffer. A drowning man will catch at a straw.
but you know that you were very correct in saying that the rich tends not to pay taxes because in Barbados, 2018, when the government changed, one of the first thing the government did was to write off over $1 billion and some dollars in VAT and income tax and other taxes owed to the government of Barbados on behalf of certain people in this country. That's for the private sector. And those people just wrote off. Was you paying VAT. You go in the store and you paying in VAT and paying in VAT. The government collect VAT from these people since in 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s. All of those years of these companies keeping agents VAT money. And then a government just coming in one day and saying, look, y'all don't owe nothing when we write that off. Right? So if the government could write off all of this VAT and income tax for our businesses, right? For our businesses, right? But if you owe the government any money, you can't get no room for that exemption, you can't get no write off, you can't get nothing of the sorts. But they give it to businesses, they give the businesses all the financial bailouts, all of the financial lifelines. As some people say, you got money to get money, or you have to be historically known for having money to get money. But
Hmm.
people tend not to take risks on newcomers in this space as it relates to starting these new things.
So it's
But
like creating a relationship then.
yeah, basically. So to have benefited from such a big tax write-off, right, the Barbados economy, right, again, where these businesses were allowed to keep our VAT, um, you are definitely correct in saying that they're rich. So if you look at some of these taxes that go on to the people of Barbados, especially look at the water bill. We know of
Garbage and
hotels,
sewage.
yeah, we know of hotels that have water bills that are woo up in the millions, but water authority don't go and cut them off, right? Or light up power don't go and cut off certain hotels electricity if they're up in the arrears. But if you got little arrears on your household thing, they come in and cutting you off, right?
Because it's operate. I realize these places is operate through fear. So if they cut off your water, for $200 or cut off your leg for $200. That can build fear within you. So you can bound and pay. The other people around you that see that, they bound and pay. They can't drive fear in the rich because the rich try to eliminate fear to get rich. You understand where I came from?
mhm.
Right. So them is only operate. Evil is always gonna operate with fear, chaos. You understand? Them sort of things them is gonna operate on. So without fear, they can't get to you. That's why there's all a perfect example, the vaccine. For them to because them can't come to everybody house and stick you with a needle and give you a vaccine. So they gotta find a way to drive fear in you and make you wanna come to them. So this way they say, oh, you can't work if you don't get this vaccine. You can't fly, you can't do this, you can't do that. So everybody know fear running everybody brain because I can't lost my job and I got my mortgage, I got my children, this and that thing. So everybody run and take this vaccine that killing them today. So these people is the biggest killers too, you know, and should be locked up. But no them again locked up, but killing people daily. And it's all through fear that these people is operate. So people need to eliminate fear and build courage.
Yeah, you there or you hear us?
Yeah, I hear, I hear.
Right. But you have somewhat agree with you saying facts, Nicholas. They operate with fear, which is correct. Square 4 says greed and corruption. Sean Paul said they got rich people that got water built in the weirs. We agree with that. He said the weirdest tax is land tax was paying slave land. The weirdest tax is land tax. Was slaves paying land tax on plantation? Uh,
You buy a house and paying land tax. That madness. So you buy the land and you still pay. You buying over the land in generations paying land tax.
hmm,
That's madness. But people don't study life the way they should because everybody got smoke, drink, party, boogie. So whether hold a party for you every week or a big event every week, you know that you ain't gonna study what you need to study. Like as Buju says, so much places to go, so much things to do, not a moment to reflect on the cycle of life. This is why people need to slow down in life. Take the time and reflect on life and see what really going on around them.
mhm, mhm. Well, I agree with you. Um, Also going back to the previous statement about the fear aspect. Uh, Fear is also a trauma-based psychological occurrence that takes over the body and takes over the mind. Uh, However, our people were instilled with this fear throughout the years. So the way you were socialized as youngsters coming up in the public school system, socialized through primary school, secondary school, college, university. You were also socialized in the household, and your first formative years would determine, how confident you are when you come out into the real world. So if you have not had the best or the most firm upbringings, um, where you know how to measure your approach to things, So as I said, the elimination of fear, not the elimination of respect, right? Just the elimination of fear, as in you're not scared or you're not frightened for the outcome where you totally lose control and you know you become consumable as a person. So what we're asking, or the lifelong learning tip here, is that we need to reprogram ourselves to help reprogram the next generation that is coming on how to be not how to not fear, but how to be more confident in general. Like how to live within the temple that God gave to you. So I agree with President of the United States Donald Trump that there are only two genders, male
A female.
and female.
All right.
So if you're a female, you need to get comf- comfortable and confident in the fact that you're a female and you know you have to play that role, your God given role over here in society. And if you're a man, you know you have to play that manly role that was assigned to you, right? That manly role that was assigned to you by God. Right? Now, if you go against those natural rules that were assigned to you, you know when you came out to the birth, your parent, you are going against the natural laws of nature, right? If you step into something else, we are not debating the morality of it or if it is good or bad, right? We ain't dealing with if it's good or bad, but we just observing eh, the reality of nature, right? So we need more, we need more uh, programs in place to help boost the confidence of the people in general, to not be so fearful, to be engaging rather, right? To learn the power of conversation, to learn the power of engagement, to learn the power of agitation, right? For a good cause, not just to accept and swallow wholesale. So in terms of workplace engagement, engaging with trade unions, collaborating and conversing with management, standing up for workers' rights in the workplace. All of these things are confidence builders and confidence boosters, right? So, right, right. All of these things
I
are
know
confidence.
I know
Yes, so
study something as you were speaking, right? That's why that's why the people got raised with so much fear to right and so and the lack of confidence to speak out for ourselves. But without that, right, a lot of things won't be in place, you know. Or like a workers' union. That could only be in place because you got people divided and the lack of confidence to speak out. Because you create a workers' union that don't got no power. The only power them got is to got the collective information on the masses. And when it's time to strike, the union don't strike. The people is who strike. So why if when the union tell we strike, we the strike? But when we see things that going on with we, that we really supposed to strike but we don't strike on by ourselves, we don't need the union to tell we to strike. Because if everybody strike, they can't fire nobody. But if I strike by myself, they can fire me. Because I by myself, I alone. So when you divided is when they tackle you. When you together, they're gonna walk away. So this is why them is gonna keep people with so much fear and the lack of confidence of speaking up, you know, so that they could create so much other things that's still political based, still running politically, because only you see that The union is only strike when the D's in power. I see that live. Only when the D's in power, you do succeed. Then striking or whoever is the union rep at that place, whoever party he does back, when that party in, no strike. Them could do anything to the people. But as the other party in, when they can't do nothing, we get strike. We need to wake up and stop getting to wait on people to tell we what to do, if to do it. When you know that you're supposed to do something, get up and do it. Because if I see you get unfair in the workplace, I go stand up with you because my turn coming next. So if all we stand up what we want that we don't need a union, no, the people create a union to put extra money out of poor people pocket every week and month. That still run based off of politics. That don't make no sense. So people go wake up for real, real, real. Well, Kemar people go wake up for real. But I see why these people has got to keep me in that state. Cause that's the only way they can make money.
Hmm. No, intentional or vibrational. Anyhow, we are at the end of tonight's show. We're up at 9:26, so we're going to wrap up now. So I just want to invite you to give a brief comment as your final comment before we sign off tonight.
I just want everybody to slow down in life. Focus on what's going on around you all. Observe everything. Do not observe. Stick together. Reprogram the brain by associating yourself with people that brain already started to reprogram. That's the only way that you can reprogram your brain and stick together because we got a big mission, a big mission, and we got to do it together. Can't do it alone. So I want everybody to see the cause, see the vision, and come together. That is my message.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good message, good vision. Um, Sounds like some good ideals that we could live by to look forward to the future. As a young person as well, it's very refreshing to have you on here. Um, Somebody was asking Kimar, where did you find him? And gave me a total laugh. So yeah, impressed by you. Um, so a big shout outs to Orlando here. When we say Orlando on here, so good night,
Yeah, big
Orlando.
shout out to you, Orlando.
Uh, we would hope to have you on here next week, Orlando. God's willing, next week we would love to have you on here. So thank you all for tuning in to Alternative Views. Glad to have you all back on the program. We're building back up nicely on the program. So just want you guys to remember that we are going to be here every Thursday because we were on break for a long time. So we're trying to get back in the hot seat, get our viewership back up in the air, bringing the hot topics, the alternate views on topics not so controversial, but just alternate, bringing that from the other than the mainstream perspective, local context, global view, a global context, global view. So we are here in Barbados, but we are looking to the world, right? We are looking to the world, how Barbadians can rise in the world. Right here in Barbados, and we don't have to do it from right here in Barbados, but how could you take Barbados up the ladder from wherever you are in the world? That is what alternative views is about. So that is where we have coverage coming from Ireland. So shout outs to Sheepdog and all of the Ireland crew who tunes into alternative views. A big shout out to the Irish people and everybody over in the EU. Shout outs to all of my Caribbean brothers and sisters on here who are listening. Um, we just had the freedom of movement going on. We're gonna have that discussion very soon about the freedom of movement, but we're out of time for tonight, so we won't be able to have that freedom of movement discussion. But we really need to speak to the people about that. We saw what happened in Europe. We went to Ireland um, on what open borders and open migration, what open migration is all about. Pedro is asking if I heard Trump's thoughts on immigration in Europe and the green energy scam. Yes, I heard it. And I actually saw some of what Trump said with my own two eyes. I visited um, Ireland, I passed through Europe. Um, the green energy scam. Um, I mean, I guess the green energy scam is not a total, a total scam. But it may have some fraud in it for sure. Um, but I think green energy and reducing the carbon footprint in the world is going to be a thing, though. You know, I don't think the world is going to continue with um, fossil fuel use in its current form. I think it's going to transform into something more environmentally friendly. Right? That's where I see use of energy going. Um, yeah, that's where I see the use of energy going moving forward. Uh, yeah. So I look forward to seeing you next Thursday, my people. Alternate views. Don't forget the book is available on Amazon. Um, we have some big things coming up. We have some big things coming up. As you know, December is my birth month. On December the 7th exactly is my birthday. So look out for something special happening then. So stay tuned, alternate viewers. You're going to definitely be informed as to what we have cooking up for you. As you know, every year we try to do some events. We held a cruise. We had tried a concert one time, but that was not successful. And we held some other events along the way. Um, it tried to come from behind the camera and to become more social. So Pedro is asking if a wedding is happening in December. You never know. It could be my wedding happening in December. So, you know, you just see what happened though. But thanks for that though. But thanks for engaging tonight, Pedro. Some very interesting discussions, interesting viewpoints. Um, yeah, so Nick, thank you again for tuning in. One more time, shout outs to Nigel. Shout outs to everybody. Shout outs to everybody over at the New National Party. Shout outs to Lifelong Learning. And shout out to Barbados and Barbadians all over the world, all over the globe. Alternate views, bringing the fresh perspective each and every time. So, Nicholas, I'm going to see you next week, God's willing. Check me out tomorrow at Bill Bob Carter with Lady Max, Vision Voice 246 Radio. Check me out on there tomorrow. Around station starts around 12:15 our time or 12 our time, which you should be on around that time. 246 Vision Voice Radio online. Check me out. We'll be on there tomorrow. Nick, will you be on there as well tomorrow? Or
No, not tomorrow. It was on last week Friday.
yeah. All right. Well, I'll be on tomorrow, so look out for Nick. Another Friday. But he's on there quite regular as well. So again, shout out to Lady Max, and we will see you guys another time. Shout outs to Mr. Angel and the entire team. They know who they are. And shout outs to all of my loved ones. Once more, hope I'm not forgetting everyone. So if I forgot anyone, this is the shout out for you, everybody. So big respects. Love you. This is Alternate Views. I will see you guys next week. Interesting it. We got the we got the whole show tonight.
Correct. No disturbance.
No disturbance.
The God give me one, man.
Yeah. So thank you to the powers that be.
It's true.
Yeah.